Outtakes Movie Podcast. We are back and we are still going on our quest to go through every single movie ever made and objectively rank them best to worst of all time. I'm joined as always by my amazing team. Amelia, how's things?
Hello, things are good.
Nice. Joe, what's going on?
Pretty good.
Rad. And Jacob, how's you?
Yeah. I is good.
Good. Excellent news. So this week we are covering Ridley Scott's Alien, which came out 6th of September 1979. So let's have a look back into the world of pop culture and see what things were going on. And to be honest with you, I've not really got a lot going on here, because so we'll start in the world of pop charts. I thought we were going to do okay, right? Number 40 was Voulez-Vous, ABBA. Classic.
Right.
I was like, okay. Well, in the height of ABBA, this is going to be good, right? So imagine my surprise when I don't recognize fucking anything until number 2. Right? From 40 to number 2, and that song is Cars by Gary Newman.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Which feels a lot more 80s than it does 70s. And number 1, though, was more 70s. We Don't Talk Anymore by Cliff Richard.
Mad.
It feels like the 70s and the oncoming 80s were kind of having a bit of a tug of war at the top of the charts.
I always think this film was from
It
the
was
80s.
79.
Yeah, it's that tail end. It's where Alien and Star Wars and everything was like changing pop culture and sci-fi, and like, yeah, we think of that as being an 80s thing, really. In the cinema, it was really weird, right? It was really weird. In the US, there was so much just like nonsense, weird, like, I don't even know, like thrillers or westerns, and I was like, I've never heard of any of these. I don't want to discuss any of these. What the fuck? So I've narrowed it specifically down to... Nice. I've narrowed it down specifically to the UK, right, which had a wildly different release, cinema release window than the US did. So you could have seen Alien, which came out on the 6th, or you could have seen The Porridge movie, the Ronnie Barker prison comedy.
The TV sitcom comedy show thing.
Or,
that's so British.
Isn't it? It's very British. I don't know that any of the humour in that show would extend to any country. I think it would just bounce straight off. And you could have maybe seen Moonraker.
James Bond?
James Bond.
Yeah, James
Bond.
Yes.
I can imagine like more people would have gone to watch that than this, to be honest.
I don't know for sure. I did see a box office number, but I have not seen the one for Alien, so I couldn't really compare and contrast. And if I was to look now, I'd probably just be guessing what the Moonraker number was. But yeah, I don't know. It's weird because it's Bond, but it was the hokey Bond, and like, we'll see. And in the world of gaming, well, there wasn't really anything going. Like, home gaming hadn't really started yet. The arcades have been around for a while, but I did get this one little factoid. So in September, we saw the release in Europe of the NEC PC 8001, which was one of the first European home computers that had made its way. Like, we're really early territory. Like, I'm not surprised if you've not heard of what that is. It's just we're really early days of like home computing. What I want to ask you all in 1979, how much do you think this rudimentary home computer might have set you back? Bearing in mind, I've adjusted the price for modern day. So we're talking about modern money. How much do you reckon it would roughly cost you?
1,500.
Okay.
I was gonna say like maybe $3,000, $2,000-3,000.
Okay. Amelia, any guesses?
Yeah, I was thinking, because my dad obviously grew up in this era, and he used to say you could get on the bus for 5 pence, get a bag of chips for 2 pence, and then you'd have money to play in the arcades as a kid. So I was going to say in their days, £50, which probably, would be about £500 to £1,000, possibly, I don't know.
Okay. So, in today's money, this home computer would have set you back roughly £2,815
That's pretty
and
close.
94 pence. Yeah, well done, Joe.
Wow.
Oof.
But in the world of cinema, of course, we had Ridley Scott's Alien, which I think out of everything we've talked about so far is probably one of the better things to have happened. Certainly one of the most noteworthy. Joe, tell us all about this movie.
So, Alien, classic film, directed by Ridley Scott, written for film by Dan O'Brien. It stars Sigourney Weaver. You got Tom Skerritt. That's how you say his name.
Like a rapper.
John Hurt. Yeah, man. Tom Skerritt. Like John Hurt, Veronica Cartwright, Harry Dean, Yaphet Koto, and Ian Holm. There's really not a big cast. That's kind of the main. All the other people is like the guy who was in like the Xenomorph suit, and the woman who does the voice of Mother. But does she do the voice of Mother? It's just that woman who announces stuff.
Yeah.
She's like, "Hey, the ship's gonna blow up." But then obviously we've got yeah, exactly. Yeah. We've got the alien. And Sigourney Weaver's like running around. We got the alien or the Xenomorph, as it's called in the film, which was famously designed by H.R. Geiger and his weird phallus-shaped artwork. He designed the actual alien, and he designed like the alien ship that they find, like the egg on. And you know the alien's probably like one of the most iconic,
100%
kind of like things in sci-fi. For like, you know, he's almost as iconic as like Darth Vader or like Hal from 2001. You know what I mean? It's really really great film. Like when people ask me what my favorite film is, I always say like this is one of them because I've seen it so many times. I've like watched this in the cinema when it was like 40 years old. Was it last year? Yeah, within last year. Nice. So I've seen it in the cinema. And even though I'd seen it so many times, seeing it in the cinema actually kind of made it a bit scarier again.
Oh my god, I can imagine.
It's kind of weird. It's just it's just a bit eerier when it's like on this huge screen and the sound's really, it's mad. It's really, if you ever get the opportunity to watch it in the cinema, do it. It's sick.
There's a really good video on the internet called Scanline, which talks about like the benefits of VHS and uses Alien a lot as a descriptor. And, like I kind of had a similar experience. I streamed this movie from somewhere, and I did not receive it in the best quality, let's say that. So I certainly had an experience that was akin to the VHS version. So as someone who's seen it like on a fuck-off massive screen, you tell me if this is better or worse on the cinema screen. I actually found it more suspenseful and more scary when it was kind of fuzzy, the same way it might have been on a VHS, because you can never quite be sure that nothing is in the dark. That's the case that this video makes, that I'd recommend everyone goes out to see. And it's certainly the experience that I had. In like pure like pixel perfect quality on a big cinema, did you find that it was kind of lesser because you know nothing's there?
Weirdly not.
Okay.
Like, I mean, because when I went to watch it anyway, I'd seen it, God knows. So I knew the film backwards anyway.
Yeah.
So I knew all the bits. But even though it was like really clear and it was huge, it's still just kind of dark as well. So like the dark I don't know, it's weird. Like you see less when it's bigger, which is really strange. So yeah, it's definitely worth watching the cinema purely for like the like the sound and everything as well.
Yeah,
just amazing, like the music and shit. Like the opening scene in the cinema is amazing. But yeah, saying all that, saying how much I love it, it kind of saddens me that when I was like doing my notes for this film, I was watching it and doing the notes, and I just writing all the stuff down and reading it back. I was just reading it back, and it was just so boring reading all the stuff back. I was reading it like, oh man, the plot. I was reading the plot back and I was like, oh, this is so boring.
Well, we discussed it slightly, waiting for you to show up. There's with Alien, all of the events are kind of like big, if that makes sense, but wildly separated. Like if you took out all of the moments of people just looking around a corridor, which you shouldn't because they're very well implemented and they're well shot and build a lot of suspense. But if you did, Alien might be a 25 or 30 minute movie.
Well, yeah. This is it.
So it makes sense that to break it down would be just like, oh, this happens and this guy dies and this guy's an event and this guy dies. Like, you know what I mean?
Like I was watching it and I was like, oh man, I don't want to keep pausing it. So I was doing notes, but then it occurred to me as I was doing notes, it was only minor stuff, and I was reading the back. I was like, oh man, this is gonna be really boring. If it's boring for me to read, it's boring for people to listen to. You know what I mean? Of course. So I was like, okay. Sure. If it was any other film, if it was a film that's not as popular, then I would have just, stuck it out and just figured out a way. But because this is Alien, I feel like... Is that right? Have any of you guys seen this before watching it for this?
Yeah, I have.
It's one of my dad's favourites, but I'd never seen it.
You never watched it, Amelia?
No.
Crazy.
Wow.
It's amazing. It's one of the best sci-fi films ever. But right, the whole thing with Alien is you can find like hundreds of videos on YouTube talking about the facts and the behind the scenes, and like if I would just went through all of that, I'd just be repeating all the stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I thought, right, I was going to try something a bit different this week. And it might actually mean that the episode's shorter. But, you know, we'll see. You know, like I said, I know a lot of the background stuff for this anyway because I studied the fuck out of this film for my coursework in college. So, like, I had to learn everything about it. And weirdly, it didn't destroy my love for the film like it did with Vertigo. I can still watch this. I can still sit through it.
Because Vertigo's a trash movie.
But yeah. So it didn't think it. I studied it. I probably studied it just as much as I did it as Vertigo. But I think because I chose to study this, I don't know. Like with
it wasn't
Vertigo,
forced down your throat, kind of thing. Like
with Vertigo, it was like.
Sorry.
Well, I can't really watch Shaun of the Dead anymore. Really, I can watch it, I guess, but I can't really watch it. I don't really like it that much. I mean, I might have said that in the episode, but yeah, it's the same. Whereas with this, I chose this to be the film I studied, so it didn't feel like I did as much of the research. I watched it as many times as I decided I want to watch it. Whereas Vertigo, I had to constantly have it on repeat to get all the stuff. But yeah. So what I'm gonna do is instead, right? I'm gonna go through the plot really quickly. I've got the plot kind of written down in like a short section, and then instead of just going through the plot like that we normally do, I've kind of structured it as like I've got a general question for all three of you at the end of doing the plot, and then I've got a question for each individual person, tailored to like what I know that person's most interested in. Okay. So instead of talking directly about the film, we're gonna kind of get our opinions. It's gonna be a discussion, is what I'm getting at. So let me just go through the plot really quick. Okay. So like we said before, the plot's pretty simple. It's 2122. And the crew of the US CSS Nostromo. I don't know what the bit at the beginning stands for. I'm assuming United States something colonial
communist
something. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Yeah, the Nostromo, the ferrying materials back to Earth from some distant mining colonies. The whole crew is in suspended animation during the ship's journey, but then halfway home, they're woken up to respond to a distress call that the Nostromo's AI operator mother has picked up. The crew investigate the distress call and find a crashed alien ship on some uncharted alien world. And when the crew enter the ship, they find thousands of strange eggs. When one of the eggs hatch, this little small creature alien thing attaches itself to one of the crew's faces, and you've got that classic kind of alien face hugger thing.
It's so unsettling. I hate it.
Yeah, it's that's the whole thing with this film is because the alien itself is based very much the whole idea of it, planting eggs in you and then the alien bursting out. It's very much a natural thing. I
think we discussed
bugs and things do it
when we were doing The Witch, and we were talking about how that movie makes you uncomfortable and making you see things you wouldn't want to see.
Yeah.
But I criticised it for being very unsubtle, very uncreative in doing that. And I'm pretty sure I mentioned Alien in that because this movie, what it's doing is it's using rape imagery. The design of the face hugger is specifically designed to look like a vagina. The whole planting eggs thing, that's very intrusive, that's very invasive. And the design of the xenomorph on top of that is very phallic.
Penis.
Yes. Yeah. It uses all of these ideas without just... it could just show you a rape, but it doesn't. It's more creative about that, but it still gives you that same sense of, oh, I really don't like this.
It just makes you uneasy.
Creatively, that's a much better way to do it, I think.
Yeah, it's there's the bit in the film when they show John Hurt with the thing with the alien on his face, and they do an X-ray, and you can see the pipe going down his throat and into his. It's just really unsettling. You makes you wanna. This gives you shivers. But yeah. So the facehugger gets onto John Hurt's face, and they take him back to the Nostromo, where they find that it's like grasped on, and like I said, it's got like a throat down. It's got like a pipe thing down his throat, and it's like keeping him alive. They don't know what it's doing, so they try to like laser it off, and it turns out it's got like acid blood, so they can't just kill it. So they're all figuring out what to do, but then it just kind of detaches itself from him, and he's free, and he seems perfectly fine. He's a bit sweaty, but he's like, I feel okay. I'm a bit hungry though, you know what I mean? So they're like, right, well, I mean, it's detached itself. I guess nothing bad has happened. Let's just go back to sleep. So they go off. They have like a nice crew meal. They're kind of doing some light celebrating, considering they think their fellow crewmate's unharmed. But then John Hurt starts convulsing, and he's like dying. And apparently, a little fact for you, obviously they read the actors read the script. They knew how it was going to go, but the bit where basically, for those who haven't seen it, listening, the alien bursts out of his chest, and it's this tiny little alien thing. But when they were filming that, Ridley Scott wanted like a genuine reaction, so the crew knew what was going to happen, but they didn't know how it was going to work. So the bit where it kind of explodes, his chest explodes and blood goes everywhere, and everyone kind of screams, that's like a genuine reaction from the crew, because they weren't told how any of it was going to work. So yeah, that's kind of cool. Like the blood gets on, I think it's who's it get on?
It's the woman who is in Sigourney Weaver. Yeah, she gets like a face full of blood.
Yeah, the woman played by Veronica Cartwright as well. She gets her face was like right over it, and blood just goes all over her. And like genuinely, there's a shot where she like screams and falls back like that, and that was actually her reacting to getting blood like splattered on her face.
I remember one of the it wasn't the first time, but it was one of the first times I saw this movie was actually in high school. We did like an experimental media studies course, right? We were like the first year that they were trialing it, and our teacher was rad, right? And he basically just came in and he said, right, so we're gonna watch a movie, and I want to teach you about building suspense. And then he stuck the Alien movie box set on the table, and he said, and if anyone asks, we didn't watch these movies.
Wow.
So he stuck in Alien and watching through, because that bit with John Hurt, that's maybe like 40 minutes to an hour in, something like that. It's around that kind of mark. Yeah.
It's kind of, yeah.
And he'd done enough preamble that as the lesson was ending, he just paused it on John Hurt doing all those horrible motions and stuff. And then like a lot of the people that were in the class were like, oh my god, no, what happens? We got to know what happens, because they'd never seen it before. We got to know what happens. And I'm like giggling. I'm like, do you? And it's like, no, we really want to know. And he just went, well, if you want to know, you just go home and watch it. And then the next lesson, I remember a bunch of girls being like, oh, we watched it. Why the hell did you make us watch that? It was disgusting, sir. What the hell?
Well, I remember like the very first time I watched this with Beth, she had no idea about that scene at all. I don't know how. She lived like, it must have been like 17 years without ever hearing about the bloody alien chestburster scene. It's like one of the most iconic sci-fi horror films.
People always joke about it. Like, I think we've joked about it in school, be like, oh,
exactly. Like, it's been done in so much of the stuff, but she had no idea what it was. And it genuinely, like, when it happened, it genuinely got her, like, it scared her. And I was like, are you mad? Like, how did you not know about this?
I
had no idea. I was like, whoa. I experienced someone actually seeing it for the first time. It was insane.
We mentioned it, like, last week when we were doing Hitchhiker's Guide. We mentioned Spaceballs. And they parody that scene in Spaceballs where...
with John Hurt as well.
John Hurt.
Dance along the... Yeah.
And he goes, oh no, not again. And then it bursts out. It's much more clean in Spaceballs, and then it does a little dance on the table. It's great.
Like a top hat and a cane as well, yeah.
I saw that movie before I saw Alien. And like I must have seen that movie when I was like maybe 10, 11 or 12, so I didn't even have the context of it being from Alien. It was the most fucking bizarre thing I'd ever seen.
Yeah.
And I was like, I remember watching Alien for the first time, and I was like, oh my god, it's the scene from Spaceballs. What the fuck?
Oh, no.
So, well, that's the guy from Spaceballs.
Where's his top hat?
Oh no! So when I watched Spaceballs, I'd already seen Alien, so I was very much aware of the reference. That's the word I'm looking for. But yeah, big famous scene. Everyone, like, even if you've not seen the film, I feel like you might have seen that scene, or you've definitely seen it referenced in something.
Must have been, yeah.
Surely.
I bet the Simpsons have referenced it at least once.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So 100%.
I'm pretty sure I've seen like a Simpsons version of the xenomorph, mini xenomorph. Like, I imagine it exists. But yeah, so John Hurt dies obviously because the thing comes out of his chest, and this little alien runs off, and they're like, "Oh shit, it's free on the ship." So they kind of, they kind of go about kind of trying to like flush it out. So they're all doing the different things. They think it's just this tiny little thing. It's like nothing, but then one of the crew wanders into like the engine room or something. I don't actually know what this room's meant to be. The chain room that's leaking water for some reason as well. No idea what it's meant to be. And he uses that weird greasy water to like wash his face or something. But then the alien, it's now like fully grown, adult size, comes in, absolutely fucks him up. And then that's when they realise, right, this is like a serious thing. So they realise that it's using the vents. So they send the captain into the vents, and he gets absolutely fucked up.
What a bad idea! Can I just say?
You know what I mean? Like going into the vent, like
he had a flamethrower. He's fine.
Well, yeah, I know, but like this thing, it's like.
I'd just like to say there was two moments in this movie that made me laugh when I don't know that I was supposed to, and one of them was this scene.
Was it the bit where he shines it and he goes like, yeah,
the alien goes,
yeah. I think everyone laughed. We used to joke that
it might as well have literally said boo,
Well, yeah.
Bar.
Like we used to joke that particular bit is that it reveals that this whole time the alien just wanted a hug from everyone, but everyone was just really scared of him, and he's like Lenny from Of Mice and Men. He just accidentally kills people because he doesn't know his own strength.
He gets too affectionate.
So that's what it is. That's what it is, and now. You know what I mean? That's the whole plot. It's the whole plot of the film. He's just secretly the good guy and everyone's the bad guy. It's a plot twist at the end. But yeah, Captain dies, and they're left with only maybe I think it's 3 of them. Well, technically 4. But then it's revealed that one of them, the Doctor, is actually an android, and it's his directive to bring the creature back to Earth so it can be examined. And because Ripley wants to, kill it, he then tries to kill Ripley. But then everyone gets in and gets on him and fucking fucks him up, chops his head off. And then
is that Bilbo Baggins?
It is, yeah. I think Ian. Okay, that's Ian Holmes, right. Yeah.
I thought I recognised him, and then because he didn't have like the mad frizzy hair, it completely threw me off.
Yeah, that's who it is. Yeah. But then we get that really thingy bit where, like, that was the one thing with watching on the cinema. Like the special effects hold up. But they don't. Like this particular bit, it's very clearly like a mannequin that they've propped up the head and then cut to Ian Holmes sticking his head through a table. Yeah. Even stuff going like.
Even with my like iffy stream quality, I could tell instantly like where the cuts were happening and
But then saying that though, like I don't mark the film down for it because it is 1979. Like to be fair, like it's good for 1979. Like they tried the best. The one thing I did notice, actually, I don't know if you guys noticed it, like in the wires, for the wires, they use those like plastic string things that they use on like Christmas decorations, where it's like a clear plastic, but then the end glows like a colour, and they use like loads of them.
Oh, like the fibre optic things.
Yeah. We used to have one in our porch when I was younger, so I like recognise them every single time I see it. And I'm like, that's what they used. I know that from the real world. But yeah, so with only 3 of them left, they find out from the android that the company wants the alien, and they're like, fuck that noise, they're gonna kill us. So they go about just detonating, blowing up the ship, and with the alien still on the ship. However, alien kills 2 of the crew members. Ripley's like, fuck. She tries to turn off the self-destruct. Mother's being a bitch. An actual quote from the film. And she's like, right, fuck it. Just about manages to get to the escape pod in time with the cat. There's a cat throughout the whole thing. Forgot to mention that. There's a cat. That's the other character. So she watches the ship explode, and you think, she got away. Yeah, the alien's gone. Plot twist: the alien isn't gone. It's snuck into the escape pod with her, and she makes one last attempt to kill it. She opens the shuttle doors. There's that really cool scene that they always use from this film, where she's wearing the helmet, but the alien's like right behind her.
Yeah.
So it's like thingy and like all the flashing lights and stuff. That's like on the box for my copy of it. Like that particular shot. That's a really cool shot. Because like all the stuff, the production and design of this film is fucking amazing.
It's outstanding, isn't it? It's not. That's not aged today.
Like to give you like an idea of how in depth it was, one of the guys on the production team, like production design team, invented a code system to be used by it's designed to be used by the crew, but it never focuses. It's just in the background the whole time, and it's named something. Like they invented like little symbols for all the different stuff, and you can just see it throughout the ship. But it was that in depth, the production design, that it's just little stuff like that makes it really good. I
remember like watching it the first time and getting to that scene in the escape pod, and it's funny the way they kind of like pull your attention away from it, because she's about to get in the sleep chamber thing, so she undresses, and that's immediately like trying to pull your eyes away from it. It's like, look at Sigourney Weaver, don't look at the set, look at Sigourney Weaver. And then she's not been doing anything for too long that you kind of start to look back at the set again. And I remember noticing, I was like looking at the walls, and I was like, holy shit, that's really smart. A lot of the pipes and stuff in the walls look like the Xenomorph's head. That's really cool. Like, it's not knowing that another twist was about to come, I was like, oh, it's unnerving me. It's making me think it could be anywhere. And then it actually was there. I was like, you got me.
Yeah. Well, that was it. Like, it's thingy. I love the way they do that. Like, it's just so thingy. That's the really good thing about, like, it just blends. It's weird, isn't it? Because even though the ship itself is, like, the alien ship's designed in a way that looks like the Xenomorph.
Yeah.
But then the ship, the normal human ship, it just blends in so well anyway.
Yeah, it's because it's just like we now pop culture wise we recognize the Xenomorph first because it is such an iconic design. Yeah. But when you pull yourself back to 1979, before this movie comes out and no one has recognized it before, your design influences are like, well, I know I need to hide this monster inside an industrial ship. Yeah. What do I make it look like? I make it look like pipes.
Yeah.
Easy.
Like,
do you know what I mean?
It's really difficult to try and imagine. Like, if I watch this film now, it's not got the same impact because everyone knows what the Xenomorph looks like. It's literally one of the most iconic aliens in, like, fiction.
My guy fought the Predator.
Exactly. There's been so many films. We've seen him in bloody CGI now. Seeing him in CGI just ruins the whole thing.
Yeah.
He's not scary anymore.
Real talk.
It's just
that it kind of like brought it back. Like seeing this. It's been a couple of years since I've seen it, and that shot where he's in the chain room, and it drops down behind him and then slowly stands up. I was kind of in awe because it's an excellent design and it's an excellent costume. So much so that like it didn't matter that it was a guy in a suit in 1979, and it shouldn't matter that it's a guy in the suit in 2018 was it Alien Covenant or something?
Something like that.
Do you know what I mean?
2018, 2017.
Should have just fucking stuck with what worked. Like Godzilla in Japan. Don't just use CGI to enhance things because it fucking works. When I can see it and it feels real, that's more effective. Yeah. That's way more effective.
Like when it moves like someone in a suit almost.
It's got a sense of reality, a gravity, a weight in the scene. Yeah. And it's like,
we literally have creature actors as well these days that literally their whole thing is to be like a creature, so why wouldn't you get these guys involved?
Well, yeah, it's just...
The one downside, I think, of it is right at the end, when she does successfully get it out of the airlock, and you just see it, like, you see its black outline against the white pod, and you go, ooh, that looks kind of shit. But up until that point, it was... Yeah, exactly. But up until then, it looked absolutely spectacular.
Yeah, when you can't see it at all, it hides it really well. It's like, he did the same thing, Ridley Scott did the same thing with Blade Runner. Like, they had, like, no money to make the sets, but so they just converted, like, the New York backlot into, like... They just added a shit ton of neon lights to it, but it was still really obvious what it was.
Rain.
Literally. So he was like, right, stick some rain in there, make it night, get some smoke, sorted. And now that's the whole aesthetic of the film.
Yeah.
It's a similar thing with this. Like, that scene at the very end ruins it a bit because you can see him very clearly.
Do you know what I
he's
think
on a
the
white
issue
backdrop.
is? I don't know. The backdrop is part of it, like the contrast, the super contrasting colours in black and white that make a definitive outline. But also, it's as he's on those wires and he's just swinging about. It's the first time the xenomorph stands like a man, if that makes sense.
His legs are really straight. Yeah.
Whereas, like, I think if it was maybe like a side profile and it was still doing the weird, like, with the vertebrae all curved weird and it doesn't look. Yeah. I still think even with the contrast that would have looked better. I think it was just a poor choice.
Like if it was like
what
crouching
from. Yeah.
Like he could have done it better. Where like he was like crouching with like his back hunched or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, she shoots the alien out the back of the ship and. You know, he's gone. That's it. She gets in the little thing. She leaves one last ship log saying, you know, explaining the events of the film, and saying that she hopes to reach the closest colonies within like a few weeks. Which, if you've seen the sequels, you know she does not. But that's a whole other thing. But yeah, that's the film. It's classic. It's amazing. Never gets old. Well, for me.
I think that's fair.
But yeah, it's an amazing film. Anyone who hasn't watched it needs to watch it because it's fucking sick. But yeah, so right, we said before, didn't we, that so you've all watched it before, except for you, Amelia, obviously. Like, if you Sam and Jacob, if you can remember, what was like the first experience? This is the general question I mentioned before, by the way. That very first like experience you had watching the film, like what was it like for the very first time you watched it? Like, did you go in blind, or was it? Did you know everything like beforehand? You know what I mean? Like, because it's Alien.
So me, I couldn't go in blind. This was my problem.
Well,
I didn't know very much about the specifics of the movie, but like I said, I'd already seen parodies of the chest bursting scene. I think I might even have seen Alien vs Predator. I definitely played the old PC game, like from like 2001, 2000 something. And as a result, like, yeah, I don't know. The Alien, by the time I'd seen it, was so pop culturally relevant that even though I didn't know the specifics of the movie, I still felt very acquainted with it. That being said, I was very impressed with it because the reality of Alien vs Predator is that they're really trashy, whereas this was really high quality, you know. So it was suddenly like I understood why Alien vs Predator would have been important and special in the first place, if that makes sense. So it's it was kind of like a reverse. Like I was aware of it, but now it's strengthened.
Yeah. Fair enough.
I think mine was kind of similar. My very first exposure to it was my dad had it on VHS, and I can clearly remember the VHS cover. It was just black. It said Alien at the top, and it was like a weird, spooky, silhouetted head, and the big red 18 in the bottom left corner. And for the longest time, I was like, Dad, I want to watch that. I was like 7. And he was like, no, you're not watching it. You're not doing that. And then I think eventually, I must have been 14, 15 maybe, he let me watch Aliens, the sequel. We watched that one first because that one's more of an action movie than a horror. Yeah. And I think he was like, "Oh, yeah, this is fine. You can watch this." I think he must have really recently rewatched it on film 4 or something, and upon rewatching it, went, "Okay, I will allow my son to watch this."
This isn't as bad as I remember it being.
Yeah. So we watched Aliens first, and I'm pretty sure I must have seen that 2 or 3 times before I then went back to watch Alien, because he always said Aliens is better, but I think he just prefers action movies. So I watched that one first. So going into this one, I wasn't as blown away as if I'd gone in completely blind, I think. But I think that's because I had the mindset of what Aliens is instead of this one. But still, every time I watch it, I'm just like, this film is absolutely cracking.
Yeah. It's like a proper thing. You film as like it's like a proper like dad film in a sense that like everyone's dad loves this film. Like my dad loves this film. I know all my mates' dads love this film. But like we love this film as well, so that like our kids are gonna say that about us. But, like, Alien's a proper dad's film. It's well sick.
Do you know what
it's a generational film.
Sorry, no, go on, Amelia, go on.
No, I was gonna say before, because obviously you said about going in blind, like, and like, what was your first like thing of this? What I will add to this really quickly is that my first exposure to this was when I actually wasn't even born yet. In the sense that so like you say, like, this is why I'm saying, like you said, it's such a dad thing. This is one of my dad's favourite films. And back in ye olde days, my dad used to play the PlayStation and like all that kind of stuff. And so my mum said that he used to play the Alien game, the original Alien game, where you'd whack out a tracker and it'd be like, boom, boom, to try and find. And apparently that sound, something along the lines of like that sound, would actually soothe me as a baby in her tummy. And
that's amazing.
And like some of like the first things I ever heard as a kid is the Alien tracker.
Oh man, imagine what you'd be like playing like Alien Isolation.
I know.
You'd be falling asleep to it.
I'd be shit.
That sounds like everyone else like panicking because it's getting close, and you're still like, oh man, I'm a bit relaxed here, you know.
So yeah, sorry, carry on. I just thought it's funny.
All I was going to say was to add on to you, because Jacob, you mentioned you think that Aliens is better if you like action movies, and Alien is better if maybe you prefer horror. That kind of thing. Like that's way right. It's not necessarily that people are off, because this is an experience I had. Is before I watched it, I mentioned to someone I knew at high school that I was wanting to watch it, and he said, "Oh no, just watch Aliens. It's better. Alien it's only good if you fucking have a massive hard on for corridors." That was what he said to me, right?
Yeah, fair enough.
I understand where he's
Was he wrong?
from. I do understand where he's coming from. But like I think it's just a case of like he preferred the action and more of a proper sense of progression. When I watched the movie for the first time, I know the introduction. It is slow. It is slow. If you want to criticize it for being slow, I think you're fair to do so. But I think the idea, at least what I got from it, was that what you're being shown is, fuck, this is a massive fuck off ship. It's huge. It's huge. And if you were being chased around it, there would be very little you could do about it, you know?
Yeah.
And I know going in, because this is a slasher movie, that people are about to be chased through it. You know, I got what I was being told, and maybe there's an argument to be made that you are over-told it, but I think it works.
I think it does.
Me too.
It's really sick. Okay, so that was a general question. I'm not gonna go. Each of you ask an individual question, right? Okay. So Jacob, but you'll go first, right? So, like, obviously, you're the only member of the podcast not to have studied film in uni.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine you've learnt some stuff that you didn't already know through just us talking in general. But I wanted to know, right, for you watching this now, because, like, when you're a film student, they force you to just constantly think about the film elements of it. So, what's it like watching this film?
Burned into our brains.
Exactly, like, you're looking at all the stuff, you're like, oh man, that's a sick camera angle, I wonder if they did this. But, like, what's it like watching this, like, casually, you know what I mean, without that stuff? Like, just being like, oh man, this is a sick sci-fi film, and I'm going to enjoy watching this. Without
Pretty
constantly
much. I mean, yeah, I suppose that's pretty much it. The only bit that I'm sort of aware of is how dark it is. Like, deliberately dark. Or, like, whenever the alien shows up, it's deliberately dark to mask how shitty the suit looks. That's the only thing I think I'm really aware of, is I'm like, oh, that's really dark. And yeah, it's dark to kind of add, like, suspense, so it could be anywhere. But also, you put it in these confined spaces. You never have it fully stretched out where you see all of it until right at the end. Yeah. And I think at least the first time watching it, I wasn't aware of that. But the more I've kind of watched other films and watched films and had you guys talk to me about them, I've kind of, when I was watching this again, I'm kind of picking up on it more. Like, oh, that'll be done because of limitations of blah, blah, blah. But
yeah,
it's nice to not have to have too much mise en scène or whatever you said ingrained in my head, and just be thinking, all right, they're walking down a corridor. All right, they're talking about this, or there's this thing, and they're just showing you stuff. You don't have to think maybe this is a metaphor or anything else.
Yeah.
It's quite relaxing.
It's just pecking at your brain constantly. Like, you can hear a voice in your head being like, oh, I wonder how they did that in film. Whoa. Like, yeah.
I mean, it's more apparent with other films. Sometimes I'll notice it in other films more so. I'm trying to think of an example recently of something I watched. Knives Out. That's got a lot of apparent, well, I feel more apparent techniques and more visual things or something. Maybe, I think, I don't really know. The Alien wasn't as obvious. It was a lot more easy to watch, I guess.
Yeah. Well, yeah, okay. Well, that's me. I just wanted to get like a... Because it's difficult watching a film for us without literally thinking about that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Like, we're kind of like coded now. So it's interesting. I love getting like the perspective of people who haven't got that in the head. You know what I mean? Like, for just kind of casual viewing. Like, I don't know.
Actually
like,
enjoying a film.
Yeah, like actually enjoy it without thinking about the bloody lore behind it and being like, oh, well, the story for this. Like, oh, Weyland-Yutani, I wonder what the background is there. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. I remember, like, when I was at home, I used to watch films like this, like Star Wars and things like this, with, like, my parents. And, like, me and my mum, we proper, like, in-depth... Like, me and my mum once proper tried to work out, like, how old Anakin is throughout the entire process of Star Wars. And my dad's just kind of sat there, like, why are you thinking about it this much? It's a film. It's literally not real.
I mean, I don't know. That's a film studies thing. That just sounds like a
it's not. No,
nerd thing.
Yeah, that one is. Yeah, but that's the example. Yeah. Imagine that, but like on a film related stuff. That's the level.
Oh, it's like saying, why is the door red? You go, it's just a red door. Just okay.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah, like they're not doing it to fit. They're doing it to scare you. They're not doing it to try and send a message. You know what I mean? It's not like a message on communism or whatever. You know what I mean? Like it's the 70s. Get over it, bro. Anyway, well there we go. That was Jacob's question. So let's go to the next one. So I think Sam is the next one. Okay. So obviously this film is insanely influential to a point. Like you can see the influences in sci-fi, obviously mostly.
Yeah.
But you were saying before about corridors. Obviously, this isn't the first thing to do sci-fi corridors. Like, you got your Star Treks. Doctor Who's really bad for sci-fi corridors.
Yeah.
But this is very... When you watch, like, sci-fi horror films, you see a lot of corridors now, and you see a lot of stuff being influenced. Basically, my whole point is, this influenced a lot of films. But, like, my question for you is, right, how influential do you think this was for, like, video games? Like, how many games... do you how many games do you think we would either not have or they would be completely different if it wasn't for this film?
Quite an astonishing amount, actually. I think the most obvious example is the direct Alien games.
Obviously.
But like horror games in general, Alien Isolation is a really excellent game, but it's using mechanics from Amnesia, The Dark Descent, you know, which is probably stealing from something else that I can't even fucking think of anything of. Way before we could even really efficiently do, like, first-person games, like point-and-click adventure games, we adding in horror elements where, enemies would be hiding in rafters and places you'd never even think to look, and they'd burst out at you and give chase. And I think this movie probably is influential to a ridiculous degree, to an almost incalculable degree.
Yeah.
There is so much of like there's games that aren't even remotely the same genre that incorporate similar designs. I'm pretty sure there's references to Alien in indie games like Enter the Gungeon. The one that's really obvious to me, there's a game called Broforce, which I don't know if any of you have ever seen any of.
It sounds familiar, yeah.
Broforce is
that like the side-scrolling, like shoot 'em up, you like knock
off
it's American heroes and stuff.
Yeah. So like every single action hero you can think of is in this game somewhere, including a version of Ripley. And when they added Ripley, they added a bunch of levels where you more or less just directly fight hundreds of xenomorphs. I don't know. Like, that's a really big question, and I think the best answer I can give you is that, well, I can't tell you the number. I think it's had an overall positive effect on the way video games are made.
Yeah.
I think it's the best thing you can do is to go, that was scary for me to watch. How much more effective would it be for me to be involved? To use all the same ideas. You don't need to change any of the ideas because they're all just there. Just make it happen to the player instead of being a passing observer. And I think video games are, if they have pulled from this, which I think they have, are better overall as a result.
Yeah, well, because I was thinking about it, and there's certain games where you can, like you said, there's ones that kind of use it as an influence that are completely different genres, but there's ones that are the exact same genre that kind of, you can basically, you strip away the elements that are in the game and you just see Alien.
Yeah.
And the one I think the most obvious is Dead Space.
Yeah, Dead Space is an excellent example.
Is Alien, but with zombie
They
aliens
even have that
instead.
egg in Dead Space.
Yeah, exactly. It's so... But the thing with it is, though, like, there's that whole argument about, like the whole thing with Tarantino. Everyone's like, oh, he just steals from other films. There's nothing really wrong with that, is it? You know what I mean? Like, Dead Space, it's, fair enough, it's taking the but taking the kind of being chased around a spaceship by an alien thing from Alien. But it's put it into the game, and it just makes it so good.
Yeah, there's a fine line between ripping something off and being influenced by it. And even if you wear your influences on your sleeve, if anything, that's better because it's saying straight up, this is where we got these ideas from. It's really cool, but we've added another element. Like Dead Space has got its creative monster designs. One of the things that I think is really cool with Dead Space is how you're told it's not aliens necessarily, but it's zombies. Like that's the kind of coding of Dead Space.
Yeah.
But you're forced not to make headshots, or at least not the way you would normally do so. And that's a really nice, little extra thing. Yeah, so
it's limbs, isn't it? Yeah.
It's all the things you remember from Alien and other zombie stuff, but with a fresh new twist that gives it this really cool creative edge. And I think if you're gonna, there's nothing wrong with that. And if anything, that should be celebrated. Everything. We're at the point now in 2020 where every story has been told thousands of times. You can't you cannot create wholly new ideas. You're going to be influenced somewhere. Be proud of what's influenced you.
Yeah, there's a difference between literally influencing and then just ripping off.
Mm-hmm.
That's the good thing. That's like when I asked you the question, do you what games wouldn't be around without Alien? I feel like Dead Space. It's one of those games that maybe wouldn't be around if Alien didn't exist.
Yeah.
It would exist on some level, but it wouldn't. I don't think it would look anything like the one we have.
Certainly wouldn't have the really extreme industrial visual aesthetic. Even down to Isaac's armor, which just feels like rusty plating. That's directly from this, really.
Well, I've seen the thing here. I think I've told you all the story about Ridley Scott. I didn't actually check my source on this, so this could be made up that I've made up over the years. But I'm 90% sure that I read this when I was researching it. So I read a thing saying that Ridley Scott, he was making a film, a sci-fi film, and he was but then Star Wars came out, and he looked at Star Wars and he loved, the used kind of universe that it was going. Because up until that point, the only stuff they'd really had was, 2001, where everything's nice and clean and shiny and stuff. Whereas he saw this thing and he saw Star Wars and he was like, right, the film I'm making is never going to be as good as that. So let's do something else. And he then, that then led him to the script for Alien, and he was like, right, we could do that with this. So that kind of, if anything, that's influence right there. Not being directly thingy, but
100%.
Alien could have looked completely different if it wasn't for Star Wars.
I was just about to say, I'm pretty sure I've heard this, so it probably is true.
There they go. Well, so that's.
I might have heard it from you, but I have heard it.
Yeah, same. Could have been you.
But Alien, we're talking about how influential Alien was, but Alien was inspired by Star Wars, and then Star Wars was inspired by bloody Flash Gordon. You know what I mean? It just keeps on going back. All these films that are so original, they're not really, are they? But there you go. Video games, good stuff. Dead Space. I just wanted to mention Dead Space. Dead Space is such a good game. I really wish they brought it back. It's so good. And then, so this is my last question, and it's for you, Amelia.
Go on.
So this film has probably one of the most famous movie posters in the history of film. Yeah, it's the xenomorph egg with the black background with the famous tagline, "In space, no one can hear you scream." You know, it's a classic. It's like up there with like the Star Wars poster and the Pulp Fiction poster, which is in every single student house in the country, along with a Train Spotting poster. So my question is, right, like, how do you think this poster, for like, especially for people who are making like the alternative movie posters today, like, how do you think it's like affected the way that posters have like gone forward and like how they like kind of make their posters?
I think because like you said, what you got to think about this is the original poster design for this felt like a teaser poster where you've got a lot of dead space, and like negative space, and then just a thing and some words, and like that was your teaser poster. Coming soon, logo of the film, and then they kind of bring out this one, which is literally, like you say, the greens, the like literally dark black space, that amazing tagline, "In space, no one can hear you scream." Like, instantly, they're not having to, because you got to think a lot of obviously posters back then were hand drawn. They didn't slap the face of Sigourney Weaver or these people. They didn't slap the faces on the front. Instantly, they're like, we don't care about who the stars of this film. Like, we want you to look at this fat egg and this whole idea of in space no one can hear you scream and be terrified. And that's quite a bold move, because back then you were trying to, like, you got to think, trailers today, we watch a trailer 1,000 times over on the internet, and then you watch a guy completely break it down. Everything you missed in the trailer. So, but you got to think, back in the day, you'd see a trailer once before a movie, and that was it.
Yeah,
so
100%.
Walking out of the cinema,
you'd only see it like at the beginning of another film.
Exactly. Well. So instantly you kind of forget about it, or you go, "Oh yeah, that was quite good." So walking past the cinema or walking through a cinema lobby to go see another film, you'd be like, "Oh yeah, that's coming out soon. That looks good." So they would push stars. Look at this. It's a rom-com. Look at this. It's a period drama. Like, posters very much, they are there. It's marketing material. It's there to make you go and see a film. So it's a really bold move to be like, right, well, we're going to slap not a lot on our poster, because that's the point of the film. It's a suspenseful, well, come and see what happens. You don't want to know what's going to happen, but, like, you're going to come and watch it anyway. And, like, that is kind of, and no one's been able to replicate that, if you get me, in the sense that, like, there's a lot of good posters where, like, look at the Jurassic Park poster where it's just logo Jurassic Park. Yeah. Things like that. A lot of stuff in the 80s is that thing, and a lot of those now are worth a lot of money and are so popular because of things like nostalgia. And I think nostalgia has a big part to play in why these films do so well. But like you say, this poster, I will tell you, is worth a fucking bomb. If you can find an original, like, it's insane. But yeah, I think this basically led people to realise that a poster doesn't have to have everything on it. You just give people a hint, and you give people a reason to want to, like, come back, and a reason to want to go and see it. So yeah, I think this changed the game for posters quite a bit, really.
So just inspirational all around, then, is what we're saying for this film.
100%.
Every aspect of this film is just inspirational, because it's so fucking good.
I mean, like, when you brought it up, the first thing that I thought was that, because you mentioned alt movie posters, and when I think of an alt movie poster, if I try and, like, if I was to just use one word to describe the majority of designs, I would use the word minimalist, and that's the same word I would use for the Alien poster. You know, it's again, it's not necessarily like the originator of the first one to do, but kind of like, oh shit, that probably turned some heads. You know, that probably made people rethink about how you structure something like that. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. But yeah, there you go. That's Alien. That's my whole episode.
Nice.
There we go. See?
I like that. That was good. It did heavily feel like you were skewing us all to be extremely positive about it and give it all high scores. So maybe I'll give it a 0 just to say fuck you. But we'll have to find out as we go through one by one, giving any final thoughts we have on the movie, and then each individually giving a score out of 10, and then I'll use maths to see where it ranks on the list to the best to worst movies of all time. Amelia, kick us off.
Cool. So, yeah, this is the first time I've properly seen this film, and so I'm not going to be able to give it a majorly high score, just because I've not seen it enough, and obviously I haven't done enough research and looking into it, like say, as much as you guys have. But it's a good film. Like you say, this is like Ridley Scott's very good at taking something that's a low budget and essentially making it cult. Like he creates a lot of subgenres, which is pretty amazing for the guy. But yeah, so for me personally, I think it's good. It's an interesting story. It is a bit slow, so I think that affects it a bit. But sometimes, as my dad would say, you want a slow film. You want to stick something on and just watch it. So to be fair, this is a good movie for certain situations, and you know. So for me personally, I'm gonna have to give it an 8.
Nice, Jacob.
Real quick, I could have sworn, Amelia, when you tried to say Ridley Scott, I thought you said Wiggly Scott. Like a little
Wrigley Scott.
Like the
Wrigley Scott.
Wiggly Scott.
Well, Wrigley's is
Wrigley
the isn't that the gum brand?
Yeah,
Maybe I
Wrigley
did.
Scott.
Oh yeah. But anyway, this film was brilliant. I love it. I don't know what more there is to say about it. Really, it's fantastic. Yeah, it can be slow, but I don't think when I was watching it, I was sat thinking, this is a bit slow. I never really got that impression. It was always, all they have to do is get off the ship and blow it up, but everything that happens for a reason, and it adds suspense and adds everything else. I don't know, I love it. I'm going to give it a 9.
Nice.
That's fair. That's very fair. Joe?
Yeah. I mean, I save this thingy for, like, films that I really love, because, oh man, I fucking love this film. Like, I'm going to give it a 10 because I love it. I forgot I didn't actually say. Yeah, I'm going to give it a 10 because, oh God, I love this film so much. Like, I've watched this probably as much as I watched, like, when we did the Pirates of the Caribbean episode, I said the same thing about that. I've probably watched this just as much as I've watched that. Like, I've watched it countless times. Yeah, I love it. I love it so much. So, yeah, I'm going to give it a 10.
Fair. That's totally fair. Yeah, I'm a big fan of this movie. I've mentioned when we did... I know this is more of a slasher than a horror, but I don't know. Are they the same? I don't know. I'm sure like horror nerds would absolutely come down on me on that, but like they feel like they're kind of adjacent. But I've mentioned before when we've done The Witch, when we've done The Shining, that I'm not really a big fan of horror as a genre, to be honest with you. I mentioned in The Shining that usually I hit a point of no return where it stops making me scared anymore. And usually that's when it starts making me laugh. Alien did make me laugh unintentionally twice. One of them was the "Wah!" moment. And the other one was, Jacob, you informed me this was part of the director's cut, not the main cut. The scene where the xenomorph absolutely bashes Jonesy out the way for seemingly no other reason other than
just like
other than to basically make you go. It feels like, you know, like in like old school theatre, I was supposed to go boo.
Yeah. Oh, the alien! No,
he's the villain. Oh, he's evil. That being said, despite making me laugh at those two moments, this film kept me the whole way, and it's always got me, and it's very well done. I'm not a fan of this genre, but I am a fan of this movie. It's got excellent production design. It's got really interesting like filmic qualities. It's shot really well. One of the things regarding Jonesy, it's weird because Jonesy is a really underplayed element of the movie, but I think a very effective one. Because he's not only used as like a jump scare substitute where the scenes where they think they're going to encounter the alien and Jonesy comes out. What that's subtly telling you is that Jonesy can get in the same places that the xenomorph can, right? Which is why at the end of the movie, when Jonesy's in the escape pod with Ripley and you didn't actually see him get there, it's a subtle way of telling you, if this got on the ship and you didn't notice, maybe something else did. Do you know what I mean? It's a really, really effective use of something that you think of as being innocuous because it's just a cat. You know,
does that mean there's a xenomorph in your house, Sam?
Holy shit! This is why my cat's warning me about the xenomorph. I think it's really, really effective, and I think I probably would give this movie full marks if it wasn't for the fact that I am not a big fan of horror, and ultimately, I wouldn't choose to watch this movie over a lot of other movies. It's so close to being there, and it's a really personal decision that I'm giving it a 9 instead of a 10. So enough. That gives us an overall rating of 90 out of 100, meaning I have to ask you all. There's only one movie involved in this. It's very high. Amelia, do you prefer Alien or do you prefer American Animals?
Oh, I forgot we rated that so high.
Yeah, we were all very impressed with that movie.
I'm good at picking good movies, you know what I mean?
Good God, kiss your own ass, why don't you? Okay, if I had to pick one out of the two, I'm going to go for the one which I think personally has been a bit more influential for cinema, and that'll be Alien.
That's a fair choice. Jacob?
I'm going to go with Alien as well. I love a good sci-fi movie.
Joe?
I mean, I'm going to go Alien. Like, I liked American Animals. I was very shocked by how much I enjoyed that film. But, yeah, I mean, it's Alien.
Yeah.
It's better. Alien's better. I love Alien so much.
Yeah, I'd give it Alien as well. Clean sweep. Like, American Animals is a stunning movie. Like, I wouldn't say that's a knock against that movie that it's lost to Alien.
Oh, no.
You know? Like,
to Alien, yeah.
It's which
the fact that it's being compared is, like, a mad thing.
In it,
you know
yeah.
I mean? Like,
And Vertigo's at the bottom.
yeah.
It's mid-table, alright, you know.
Where is it, Vertigo? I've forgotten. Let's have a see. Vertigo's number 33. It is quite far.
Okay, no, that's quite low, isn't it? I thought it was more building than that.
I'm pretty sure Scooby-Doo is higher.
So that places Alien as the third greatest movie of all time, in between American Animals and just below The Empire Strikes Back.
What's number one?
Number one is Back to the Future, Part 1.
All right,
That makes sense. That's a pretty
weird.
solid 80s
I think I would have
top
picked.
3.
Yeah, I think I would have picked Alien over Back to the Future, though, to be fair.
Yeah, it's weird when you like ask them like side by side, but we all loved Back to the Future that much. So that brings us to the part of the show where we find out what we're going to be watching next time. So it's October. We're hitting spooky season. I assume that's why you've picked Alien, a bit horror, but getting us going. So,
I actually didn't know.
Oh, well, fair enough. It's worked out.
Very convenient, yeah.
With that in mind, I want to watch Space Jam.
You son of a bitch! You bastard! I mean, fair enough, but...
I mean, yeah.
It's got...
God damn it.
It's got monsters in it, you know? So,
Oh, no.
Well, we shall resume our spooky viewings after next week, folks.
I don't know, man. There's like bits where Looney Tunes are on, like, you know...
I mean, parts of that movie are pretty
like,
scary.
breathing machines.
I'll give it that.
That's pretty intense, you know? Didn't need to see that. Right, yeah. So, thanks very much for watching this episode about Alien. Let us know what you think about the movie and the episode in the comments down below if you've been watching us on YouTube. Also, feel free to give us a like and a subscribe if you've been listening to us on your favourite podcasting apps. Also, hit that button. And if you want to find us on either or, just search for the Outtakes Movie Podcast. You can also contact us via email using the outtakesmoviepod@gmail.com if you want to just send us anything. Also check us out on Twitter and Instagram @TheRealOuttakes. Thank you very much for watching and join us next time. Everybody get up. It's time to slam now. Can't wait.
Welcome to the jam. I wanna slam.